By the time the third armed escort showed up, he knew something was wrong. Not dangerous wrong. Not emergency wrong. More like social apocalypse wrong. They didn't point weapons at him. They didn't restrain him. They just walked slightly ahead, slightly behind, and slightly to the side, like he was a glass sculpture that might explode if bumped too hard. Every alien he passed reacted the same way. Some froze. Some bowed. Some pretended they hadn't seen him at all and slammed their shop shutters down mid-sail. A four-armed merchant fainted. He just wanted coffee. Not a special coffee. Not a ceremonial beverage. Just something hot, caffeinated, and capable of keeping him awake through his shift. That was it. That was the entire ambition of his morning. Instead, the station's main corridor parted for him like a funeral procession. He touched the side of his neck without thinking. The skin there felt slightly warmer than the rest of him. Sensitive. Not painful, just to wear. This was not how last night had started. Last night had started with him making a bad joke in a bar that catered to species who preferred their drinks mildly radioactive. Last night had started with him thinking, wow, she's intimidating. Last night had started with him thinking, wow, she's flirting. And last night had absolutely not started with him thinking, wow, this is going to turn me into a walking interstellar hazard label. He'd noticed the moment she entered. It was hard not to. She was taller than most of the room's patrons, built like something that evolved on a planet, where gravity was more suggestion than rule, with eyes that reflected light like liquid metal. Her species had a reputation for being territorial, predatory, and dramatic, but mostly the dramatic part. She'd sat beside him without asking. That should have been his first clue. "You're human," she'd said, her voice low, curious, almost amused. He'd smiled. "Last I checked." She'd tilted her head, studying him like he was a puzzle she already knew the answer to. "You smell strange," she'd added. "Thank you." That was when she'd laughed. A deep, rumbling sound that made the table vibrate. They'd talked about cultures, about misunderstandings, about how humans were weirdly expressive with their faces, about how her species communicated with posture, proximity, and occasional threatening noises that, to her, meant affection. "You flirt like you're challenging people to duels," he'd said. She grinned. "You flirt like prey that hasn't realized it's being admired." He had absolutely 100% misinterpreted that as banter. They'd gotten closer as the night went on. Not physically, emotionally. She asked questions, real ones, about his home, about why he'd left it, about what humans feared. Being alone, he'd answer without thinking. She'd gone quiet at that. When she leaned in, he thought she was going to kiss him. What she did instead was press her mouth to the side of his neck and bite him. Not hard, not enough to break skin, just enough to make him yelp and nearly spill his drink. She'd pulled back, eyes glowing faintly, and growled, low and pleased. "Mine." He'd laugh, flustered, pulse racing. "Wow. Straight to possessive, huh?" She looked genuinely confused by his tone. That was flirting, she'd said. They'd gone their separate ways after that, with plans to meet again. He'd woken up expecting an awkward text. Instead, he got a summons from station security, which led to the escorts, which led to the fainting merchant, which led to him standing in front of a sealed cafe door, while the owner pretended the place was suddenly closed for a structural inspection. "I just want coffee," he muttered. One of the guards cleared their throat. "Sir, you can't just walk into public establishments like that." "Like what? Like that?" They gestured vaguely at his neck. He pulled out his reflection display and stared. The mark wasn't dramatic. It wasn't glowing ominously. It wasn't shaped like a skull or a cosmic rune. It looked like a bruise. A faint crescent, slightly darker than his skin, with a subtle shimmer beneath it, like heat haze trapped under flesh. "You're kidding me," he whispered. A nearby alien, a tall, feathered species with her blinking eyes, stared at him in open horror. "You bear the sovereign claim," it whispered. He blinked. "The what now?" The creature's feathers fluffed up in alarm. "The territorial mark of a prime predator lineage." He stared. "No, this is a hickey." The alien fainted. He had to step over it. By the time he made it to work, the rumors had already outrun him. People whispered. People stared. People backed into walls. Someone saluted. Someone else tried to give him a religious pamphlet. His co-worker, an insectoid named Fell, saw him and immediately hid behind a desk. "Fell," he said, "what is happening?" Fell peeked over the edge. "You are marked." "Yes." "By her." "Yes." "By that kind of her." "I don't know what that means." Fell clicked their mandibles nervously. "Your species doesn't do this, do they?" "Do what?" "Publicly announce dominance bonds with apex hunters." He blinked. "I went on a date." Fell made a sound like a machine malfunctioning. "You've been claimed." "I've been flirted with." "These are not the same thing." That was when the station's automated announcement system glitched. "Attention all personnel. Please remain calm. The individual with the mark is not currently hostile." He buried his face in his hands. Within an hour, he learned what the galaxy thought had happened. Some species believed the mark meant he was legally married. Others believed he was cursed. Others believed he was an emotional support human of a creature that wiped out entire ecosystems for fun. One culture believed he was a sacred consort. Another believed he was a warning label. A third believed he was already dead and just didn't know it yet. He tried to message her. She responded with, "Why is everyone staring at you?" He typed back, "Why did you brand me like a livestock warning?" She replied, "That was flirting." He stared at the screen. This was going to be a problem. By the time he left work, 2 different research groups had tried to scan him. A cult had tried to bow at him. A group of smugglers had paid him not to look at them. And the coffee shop had finally reopened, only to immediately shut again when he stepped inside. He stood in the hallway, thirsty, exhausted, and increasingly aware that something intimate had turned into something apocalyptic. All because of a bite. All because of one playful growl. "Mine." He leaned against the wall, rubbing his temples. "I just wanted a normal date," he muttered. Across the station, a rumor spread that a human had been claimed by a predator queen. He didn't know that. He just knew no one would sell him coffee anymore. And that, somehow, was the scariest part of all. He spent the next 12 hours discovering that the galaxy had absolutely no chill. It started with messages. Hundreds of them. Some were polite. Some were terrified. Some were marriage proposals. A few were condolence letters. One of them just said, "I'm sorry you're already dead." He didn't even know how to respond to that. The mark didn't fade. That was the first real problem. By the time he woke up the next morning, it was still there, faint, warm, and annoyingly noticeable. Not glowing, not pulsing, not doing anything dramatic, just existing, like a smug reminder. He stood in front of the mirror, turning his head side to side, poking at it. "Disappear," he told it. It did not. He tried covering it with a collar. That worked until station security politely asked him to stop hiding it for everyone's safety. For everyone's what? They wouldn't elaborate. On his way to work, a group of reptilian traders took one look at him and immediately lay flat on the ground. He stepped around them. "Please don't do that." One of them whimpered. He stopped trying to understand. By midday, he had learned at least 6 different cultural interpretations of what had happened to him. One species believed the mark meant he was now under protection of a territorial war matron and could not be harmed without triggering a blood feud that would last centuries. Another believed he had been spiritually bound to a cosmic predator and would bring ruin wherever he went. Another believed he was now legally a pet. He really hated that one. A gelatinous life form in the elevator stared at him for a full 30 seconds before whispering, "Do you require enrichment toys?" "I require coffee," he said. It slid away in fear. He tried to keep living his life normally. That was mistake number 2. He went to lunch. The cafeteria cleared. He sat at a table. Everyone else left. A cleaning drone approached him, paused, then slowly reversed. He tried to order food. The vendor burst into tears. "I don't bite," he said. They fainted. This was getting ridiculous. He finally managed a corner Fell, who was wearing what looked suspiciously like a panic helmet. "You," he said, pointing. "Explain." Fell's eyes flicked to his neck and then away. You are territorially bonded. No, I'm not. You have a visible mark from a species whose mating rituals double as threat displays. I went on a date. You were branded. He groaned. It was playful. That species does not play, Fell said gently. They conquer, sometimes romantically. That was when it clicked. He pulled out his comm and messaged her. We need to talk. She responded immediately. Are you being hunted? No, but I think I'm being worshipped. There was a pause. That is inconvenient, she replied. They met in a quiet observation lounge overlooking a blue-white gas giant. She looked the same as always, composed, confident, faintly amused by everything. You cause an interstellar incident, he said. She blinked. I flirted. You claim me like a warning label. She tilted her head. Yes, that is not flirting. For my species, she said, it is extremely light flirting. He stared at her. How heavy does it get? She smiled. He changed the subject. Everyone thinks I'm yours. She considered that. You are. No, I mean, you accepted the mark, she said. I thought it was a hickey. She paused. You thought I injured you as a sign of affection? I'm human, he said. We do weird stuff. She hummed thoughtfully. That explains many things. He rubbed his face. This is ruining my life. She frowned. Why? Because no one will talk to me without trembling. She looked genuinely surprised. They are trembling because they respect you. They think I'm a bomb. Respectfully, he gestured wildly. I just want to date like a normal person. What is normal? She asked. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Fair point. Still, he tried. He downloaded a dating app. His profile auto-flagged as a biohazard. He tried a different one. It suggested he seek professional containment. He approached a woman at a bar. She took one look at his neck and asked if he was emotionally stable enough to handle polytheistic worship. He left. The rumors spread. By the next day, people had started whispering that he could command her. That was new. A tall avian diplomat bowed to him. We seek your mercy. For what? For existing near you. He stared. I am a customer service rep. They bowed harder. A gang of smugglers surrendered to him in an alley. I don't even know you, he said. They dropped their weapons. He stepped over them. This was spiraling. The worst part? She didn't see the problem. This is efficient, she said later, watching a group of armed mercenaries scatter when he approached. I'm not trying to be efficient, he snapped. I'm trying to be normal. She studied him. Why would you want that? Because I don't want people afraid of me. She softened, just slightly. Fear is how many species show respect. Well, I don't like it. She was quiet for a moment. You are unusual, she said. Tell me about it. My kind bonds through dominance, through protection, through visible claims. I bond through talking, he said, and shared food, and not terrifying people. She looked at him with a strange expression. That sounds inefficient. Everything doesn't have to be efficient, he said. Something in her eyes shifted. That night, things escalated again. A research delegation arrived. They wanted to study him. A religious group wanted to anoint him. A military official wanted to know if he could deploy her. He didn't even know where she was half the time. Someone tried to kneel to him. He panicked. Stop doing that, he shouted. The entire hallway froze. Dozens of beings stared at him in horror. He blinked. Please stop doing that. They backed away slowly. He leaned against a wall, sliding down until he was sitting on the floor. This wasn't funny anymore. It was exhausting. Every word he said was misinterpreted. Every movement analyzed. Every joke taken as a threat. Even his silence felt dangerous. Later, she found him there. You look distressed, she observed. I am, he said. She sat beside him. Her presence made the hallway empty almost instantly. He laughed weakly. See? Even your shadow scares people. She considered that. You do not like being feared. No, he said. I like being liked. She looked at him. Really looked. That is fragile. Thanks. But also, she added, strange. He glanced at her. In my culture, we soften monsters, he said. We don't worship them. She frowned. I am not a monster. He smiled faintly. I know. That seemed to matter. By the time he stood, he knew one thing for certain. This wasn't going away. The mark wasn't fading. The misunderstandings weren't slowing. And the galaxy had decided he was something he had never asked to be. He just wanted a normal date. Instead, he had become a warning label, and it was only getting worse. By the third day, he had stopped correcting people, not because he accepted it, but because correcting them made things worse. If he said, I'm not dangerous, they assumed he was being modest. If he said, I'm harmless, they assumed he was being polite before annihilation. If he said nothing, they assumed he was contemplating destruction. He discovered that silence was apparently terrifying. He also discovered he could no longer ride public transport. Every time he entered a shuttle, someone would disembark in a panic. One time, the pilot ejected himself. He had to walk, which was inconvenient because the station was the size of a small moon. But it was also strangely useful. Doors opened. Crowds parted. Lines dissolved. Security waved him through with shaky smiles. He didn't ask for any of it. It just happened. One time, he tripped. A dozen armed guards leapt into defensive formation. I'm fine, he said. They didn't believe him. By midweek, he realized something deeply unsettling. People weren't just afraid of him. They were afraid for him. A tall, armored alien approached him carefully, bowing so low its forehead hit the floor. Great claimed one. It said, we offer tribute. He stared. I don't want tribute. The alien slid a box toward him. It rattled. I don't want whatever is in that box. The alien's eyes widened in horror. You reject our peace offering? I reject the concept of offerings. The alien whimpered. He pinched the bridge of his nose. Please stand up, he said. It stood. Please take the box back. It took the box. Please don't ever do this again. It nodded violently. Then it ran. He leaned against a wall, exhaling. Across the corridor, people whispered. Someone made a religious sign. Someone fainted. Again, he was becoming famous. Not good famous. Myth famous. The rumors got weirder. Some said he could summon her. Some said he controlled her. Some said he was the only being in the galaxy capable of calming her. That one made him laugh. Then it made him nervous, because when he asked her about it, she looked thoughtful. They believe you have influence over me, she said. I do not, he said. You tell me to stop frightening people, she replied. And you do, he said. She tilted her head. Not because you command me. Then why? She hesitated. He blinked. Oh, no. She looked away. Oh, no, he repeated. That is not a negative response, she said. That was absolutely a negative response. She studied him. Humans place much weight on words. Yes, we do. And tone. Yes. And implication. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, my God. He took a step back. You don't think I own you, right? Her eyes narrowed. No. He exhaled. But I have chosen you. He inhaled sharply. That's different, he said weakly. Is it? Emotionally? Very. She smiled faintly. Good. That was not comforting. Things escalated when he accidentally negotiated a ceasefire. He hadn't meant to. Two rival species were arguing in a public plaza. Loudly, aggressively. Security was circling. He was trying to get around them. One of them saw him. They froze. The other noticed. They both bowed. He tripped again. I'm fine, he said. I just need to pass through. The first one swallowed. We will cease hostilities. The second nodded. Immediately. Why? He asked. They glanced at his neck. Oh, he said. He walked away. Behind him, a centuries-long conflict ended. Someone started calling him the soft-handed doom. He hated that. He also hated that it kind of worked. Not intentionally. But people listened to him. They stopped fighting when he asked. They calmed down when he spoke. They believed him. not because of his words, but because of what they thought he was attached to, which made him feel like a fraud. The worst part was that he wasn't a fraud. He genuinely wanted people to stop being afraid, and that somehow made him more frightening. By the end of the week, a research council requested a formal audience. He declined. They insisted. He declined harder. They begged. He hid. She found him. "You are avoiding the delegation," she said. "I am hiding," he corrected. "From scientists." "Yes." "Why?" "Because they want to dissect my reputation." She considered that. "Not your body?" "Not yet." "That is an improvement." "It is not." She sat beside him. Again, the corridor emptied. He sighed. "Do you ever notice how everyone leaves when you sit near me?" She looked around. "Yes." "Do you ever wonder why?" "They are being polite. They are evacuating." She frowned. "Why would they do that?" "Because they think you're going to eat them." She paused. "I might," she said. He stared at her. She tilted her head. "But not today. Please never say that again." She smiled. The delegation didn't give up. They followed him. Everywhere. They tried to speak to him through drones, through interpreters, through gifts, through fear. One of them sent a message that read, "We require confirmation of your dominance parameters." He blocked them. Then something happened that made him realize how bad this had become. He tried to buy shoes. Normal shoes. Human shoes. The shopkeeper took one look at his neck, screamed, and locked themselves inside their own store. "I just want footwear," he whispered. The automated voice system responded, "Your presence violates safety protocols." "I am a safety protocol," he snapped. The system shut down. He stared. He hadn't meant to do that. He didn't like that he could. Later, he sat on the floor of his apartment, back against the wall, knees pulled to his chest. "I didn't ask for this," he said quietly. She watched him. "I did not intend this," she said. "I know." Silence stretched. "You don't understand humans," he said. She inclined her head. "Explain." "We don't like being above people. We don't like being worshipped. We don't like being feared." "Why?" "Because we're all terrified of being alone." She blinked. "Fear prevents loneliness." "No," he said. "Connection does." She was quiet. "Your mark connects us," she said. "Yeah," he replied. "But it disconnects me from everyone else." That landed. She stared at his neck. Her mark. Her mistake. "You are isolated," she said. "Yes." Her jaw tightened. That was new. The next day, things changed. Not publicly. Privately. She stopped walking beside him. She walked slightly behind, which terrified everyone. She started softening her posture, her presence, her gaze. People still flinched, but less. He started speaking first. She let him. That terrified people even more. But slowly, something strange happened. People began to associate calm with him. Not fear, not destruction. Calm. When he asked for coffee, the barista shook, but poured it. When he said, "Please," they listened. When he joked, they didn't flee. Not immediately. One time, a child approached him. A tiny, fuzzy alien with big eyes. It stared at his neck, then at him, then asked, "Are you scary?" He knelt. "Sometimes," he said, "but mostly I'm tired." The child nodded and sat beside him. The entire hallway froze. He waited. Nothing happened. The child smiled. "That was it," he said softly. She watched. Something in her eyes shifted. "You disarm with softness," she said. "Yeah," he replied. "It's kind of our thing." "You make monsters gentle," she said. "I don't think you're a monster," he said. She looked at him. That look lingered. By the end of the week, the rumors had changed. Now they said he was her leash. He hated that too, but it was better than Extinction Omen. He was still feared. But now he was also trusted, which was dangerous in a different way. Because now, people were waiting for him to lead. And he had never wanted to lead anything in his life. He just wanted a normal date. And somehow, that had turned into political influence. romantic disaster, cultural upheaval, and a reputation he didn't recognize. He stared at his reflection, at the mark, at the boy who used to worry about being invisible, and wonder how the hell he had become a legend, not because he was powerful, but because he was gentle, and that somehow scared them more. By the time he realized he'd become a problem, the galaxy had already decided he was a solution. People didn't just move aside anymore. They waited for his opinion, for his reaction, for his approval. It was subtle at first. A dispute in a market. Two species arguing over trade routes. He passed by and said, "Could you both just calm down?" And they did. Not because of him. Because of what they thought stood behind him. And that felt wrong. He didn't like power that came from fear. It tasted sour in his mouth, like he was borrowing from something he didn't understand. He told her that. They were sitting together, watching the artificial sunrise over the station's inner ring. She was unusually quiet. "You don't like what I represent," she said. "I don't like what people think you represent," he replied. "And I really don't like what they think I represent because of you." She considered that. "You are safe. I'm isolated." She frowned. "In my culture," she said slowly, "being chosen is the opposite of isolation." "In mine," he replied, "being untouchable is the loneliest thing there is." That landed harder than he expected. He hadn't meant it to be dramatic. He wasn't trying to accuse her of anything. It was just the truth. He could walk through crowds now, and no one would brush his shoulder. No one would bump into him. No one would sit too close. No one would casually exist near him. He had become a bubble. A very respected bubble. But still a bubble. "I miss being ordinary," he admitted. She studied him with a focus that made his skin prickle. "Why?" "Because ordinary people get invited places. Ordinary people get laughed at. Ordinary people get ignored." She blinked. "You want to be ignored?" "Sometimes, yeah." That confused her. She'd grown up in a culture where visibility meant survival, where dominance was safety, where marks weren't symbolic. They were declarations. She had not understood what she'd done. Not really. And for the first time since this started, she seemed to realize it. "I did not ask," she said. "You bit me," he replied. "That feels like asking in a very specific way." She winced. "I did not know your kind treated marks as social detonators." "I didn't either," he said. "Until now." They were quiet. The mark still hadn't faded. In fact, it had become more visible. Not glowing, not flashing, just clearer, like it had decided to stay. He rubbed it absently. "Is it permanent?" he asked. She hesitated. That was never a good sign. "Yes," she said. He stared at the horizon. "Oh." "For my species," she continued, "the mark means protection, loyalty, claim, yes, but also responsibility. I do not abandon what I mark." "That's sweet," he said faintly. "Also terrifying." She tilted her head. "Both can coexist." He snorted despite himself. The next day, the delegation came anyway. Not scientists, not worshippers, representatives, leaders, ambassadors. They asked him what he wanted. He laughed. They took that as wisdom. "I want people to stop bowing," he said. They wrote it down. "I want to buy shoes without causing panic." They nodded solemnly. "I want to go on a date without being treated like a cosmic event." They whispered. He realized then that no matter what he said, it would be interpreted as policy. He stood. "I don't want to rule anything," he said. They trembled. He exhaled. "Look," he said, rubbing his face. "I'm not special. I'm just human." That word rippled. Some of them looked confused. Some looked disappointed. Some looked afraid. She stood behind him. He didn't ask her to. She just did. Not looming. Not threatening. Just there. He took a breath. "In my culture," he said, "we don't solve problems by being the biggest thing in the room. We solve them by talking, by listening, by being wrong and admitting it." Silence. "I don't want people to fear me," he continued. "I want them to argue with me, laugh at me, tell me I'm stupid sometimes." A few of them blinked. "That is dangerous," one said. Yes, he replied, but it's honest. Something shifted, not dramatically, not magically, but perceptibly. The next time he walked through a corridor, people still moved aside, but a few didn't. One looked at him and didn't bow. Another nodded. A third asked if he was actually as terrifying as everyone said. No, he replied. I trip a lot. They stared, then laughed. It wasn't a big laugh. It was nervous, but it was real. He exhaled. Later, he sat with her again. They're changing, he said. Yes, she replied. You're changing too. She considered that. You are inconvenient, she said. Thank you. You make me question things I have never questioned. That's kind of our brand. She studied him. Do you regret the mark? He thought about it, about the fear, the isolation, the chaos, and then about the quiet moments, the way she listened, the way she tried, the way she was learning. No, he said slowly. I regret how it happened. Not that it happened. Her shoulders relaxed, just slightly. You are still mine, she said. He sighed. There it is. She tilted her head. Is that undesirable? He met her gaze. It depends what you mean by it. She paused. Then, for the first time, she asked instead of declaring, What would you like it to mean? That question hit him harder than any growl. I'd like it to mean choice, he said. Not fear, not ownership. Choice. She absorbed that. In her world, marks were absolute. In his, nothing was. You would choose me? She asked. He smiled faintly. I already did. I went on a date with you. Her mouth curved in a way he had learned meant something dangerously close to happiness. Then very carefully, she said, Then I will learn your way. And that was somehow scarier than everything else. Because now, she wasn't just powerful. She was trying, which meant the galaxy was going to have a very strange adjustment period. He tried to go on a date again. Not with her. With someone else. A normal someone. It went poorly. The restaurant panicked. The server cried. The person across from him asked if they would be targeted. He left early. She found him afterward. You appeared disappointed. I just wanted one normal evening, he said. She tilted her head. What is normal? He thought. Someone making fun of my shoes, he said. She glanced down at his feet. Those are objectively poor shoes. He stared. She blinked. Was that correct? He burst out laughing. People stared. Some smiled. Some still flinched. But it was better. It wasn't fixed. It wasn't resolved. But it was changing. The mark was still there. Permanent. Visible. A symbol of something no one quite agreed on. Some still thought he was cursed. Some still thought he was sacred. Some still thought he was dangerous. But now, a few thought he was kind. And that was new. He still couldn't get coffee without a minor incident. He still triggered security alerts. He still got bowed to. But sometimes, rarely, someone would just wave, and that felt like victory. He looked at her one evening, watching the stars scroll past the window. I don't think I'll ever be normal again, he said. She considered that. I do not think you ever were, she replied. He smiled. Yeah, he said, but maybe I could be human again. She looked at him, not at his mark, at him. You already are, she said. And for the first time since all this began, he